Hello, welcome back to another segment in A Spiritual Ascension, my own personal 5-year journey. So, hopefully, again, you're watching these from the introduction all the way through to the next video. So, if you can follow along that way, so that I know you probably may come into this video in the middle, but I'm actually giving you kind of a chronological order of the things that happened to me. Sometimes I have to go back, things that I forgot to tell you guys. So just bear with me. Like today, I actually have to go back because I thought of something that would bring me up to the subject that I wanted to talk about today. So when we left off, I was talking about 2018 kind of being a quiet year, but also I did a lot of, started doing more and more and more research, studying, was writing papers on metaphysics, trying to understand that there's so much more out there than we've been taught since we were young, either by our own religion or by what our parents knew, by tradition, or even by things we learned in school, science, right? So there was something deeper. Like when you think about it, all the information that we have comes from man, correct? There's so much more out there that we don't understand. We've been able to get to the moon, but we aren't even able to, at this point that I know of, to get to Mars, Um, like a human person can't get to Mars. Um, so I love watching. No, I'm a real kind of geek as far as watching these sci-fi movies, as far as you know, going out in space and finding aliens. I was never like that before, but I find it very interesting to see what um, humans think as far as what we can do, or as far as we can get into the universe, into outer space, or what we have no real knowledge of, only what we can see from here. All right, so I'm kind of getting off subject, but I want to go back to 2011. Um, as I said, in 2012 was my first major spiritual awakening. And that's when I had realized that the religion that I had been brought up in was not what I had thought it to be. And that something had happened to me as a young child. And if you go back to that video, you'll be able to hear my whole explanation. And the religion covered it up. So going back to 2011, I've talked at length about my family, mainly my sisters, who had decided that because I had left the religion in my mid 20s. And even though I didn't have any other beliefs, I didn't know what else to believe. I still had those beliefs, but I no longer wanted to be a part of the religion, like attend, you know, um, or really hear about it. Um, Throughout the years, I always say my middle sister, so because there's three of us, and my oldest sister, my middle sister, and then me. I'm the baby. And her husband is, I guess, one of the what they call elders within the congregation, that there's a hierarchy. And so they kind of expect the wives of the elders to um, be leaders also, as far as being out there um, spreading the word of this religion. She had kind of made it clear throughout the years that, she would socialize with my children. She would take my children for the weekend or whatever, spend time with them, but she wouldn't come to my house anymore. she lived a distance from me. So whenever she wanted to get them, she either would come to pick them up, which was way over 2 hours, or I would meet her halfway in between at like a rest stop, and she would get the kids, and that's how it kind of went. So the religion does that to cause you internal pain. You've left this religion, to me, cult. So we're going to make you feel at your lowest, bring you pain because you're no longer able to associate with your loved ones. Okay. And for my sisters to treat me like that, when we were very close, when we were younger, was, of course, extremely painful. But as it went throughout the years, I just kind of learned to deal with it. And I was always also the kind of person that I would listen to. I've got to do my time here, make sure I don't do too much time. I was also the kind of person, since my sisters were a bit older than me, they would watch me when I was younger. My parents would go out and they would take care of me. So I kind of had a respect for them in a way as older sisters, that I would always want to listen to what they said, whatever advice they were giving to me. So throughout the years, my sister would send me letters encouraging me to come back to the religion. And it was made to kind of make me feel bad for leaving. And I, of course, ignored it, but of course, it did make me feel bad. Like, oh, I can't be a part of my own family because of my choice to leave the religion. So now, around going into 2019, I can't remember exactly when everything exactly happened, but there was a time when I had told you about moving away from the person I had been living with at that time. His sister had been a psychic medium, which helped me to open me up, um, to understand all about my own abilities. And so I was in my own apartment and I received a letter from my sister, who, this is around, I'm going to say 2019. And again, another letter of encouraging to attend what they call the memorial of Jesus' death. And I hadn't actually seen my sister since 2011. So that was 8 years. I hadn't seen her. And also, no one knew where I lived at. I think only my mother did. So I'm wondering, how did she get my address? Anyways, long story short, going back to 2011, the end of 2011, I lived in New York City, in Manhattan, and my sister had called me one day and she says, I want to come visit. So I was like, oh, really? Because he had never come visit. She hadn't come to visit me in probably, oh my God, it had to be way over 10 years already. That shunning had been going on that long. So I'm like, really? She wants to come and visit me. But then she said, well, I probably started saying, well, this is how you get to my house. And she said, oh, no, I'm not going to come to your house. Let's meet like in Midtown in Manhattan. So, of course, there that goes that thing of, I'm not going to allow myself to set foot into your house. So I met her in Midtown and we walked around, did some shopping. We ended up um, getting something to eat. And I could tell there was some things that she wanted to say something to me. And we had a really nice time together, but she would never she never ended up saying whatever was on her mind. But I said this was a really weird visit for her just to come and see me and, um, for us to um, just go hang out. And I hadn't seen her already in like over 10 years. Well, I don't know if I hadn't seen her, but she hadn't come to my house. I hadn't gone to her house. My, I was talking to her pretty often at that point, and it was more just kind of catch up. We were talking about, our diets and, different other things. My nephew, who was only about 14, 15 years younger than me. So when he was born, I was still living at home with my parents. And when he was used to come over as a baby, you know, um, is like my little nephew. So he was up until I got married and left the house, he would come and visit. And, I was very close to my nephew when he was very young. And she had told me that he was going to get married in, I believe it was June of 2012. And I was so excited, like I'm going to attend my nephew's wedding, like all these years of, that was my only nephew. I had no other nephews, and um, really excited about that. She left New York that day and never said anything else to me. So throughout the next couple months, she had said, was talking about the wedding and so forth. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's going to be really exciting and everything. Um, I had told you at that time, someone had said to me that, oh, that religion is a cult. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And then right after that, I started doing research. And that probably was about April of 2012. And that's when I had that first spiritual awakening of, oh my goodness, like the stuff that I was reading and that this was a cult. And one day my sister called me and um, said, this is before I had that awakening. She called and she said to me, you just got home from work, was cooking dinner. I always remember this. And she says, Marilyn, you know that I love you, but I can't have you come to my nephew's wedding. I can't have you come to my son's wedding. And she says, if you come, your presence there will cause God's Holy Spirit not to be there just by your presence. I hadn't had my awakening yet. So I understood what she was saying to me. This was another way of her saying that um, you're not worthy of coming into this sacred space where his wedding will take place, because it's like almost like I have filth on me or darkness on me because I no longer associate with that religion. So, in order for me to even step into probably their church or whatever, I'm bringing defilement into it. And she wants to make sure that his marriage is blessed, and my presence there will possibly affect that in some way. So that's what she was trying to say to me. I hung up the phone and I was devastated, first of all, because I was so excited to be able to go to my nephew's wedding, but it was like a stab in the heart. And I don't know if you know about tarot. Okay, I'm also a tarot reader. The Ten of Swords, right? And if you see that card, I wish I would have had that card out here. There's a man laying on the ground, and there's like 10 swords, 10 knives in his back. But it's also tends to talk about a completion, right? There's an ending. And that kind of was the ending of my family, allowing my family to walk over me. And I kind of was not going to put up with that anymore. Um, and soon after that was when I really, because I'm saying, what is this about this religion that would cause families to divide so significantly that they're saying my presence would affect a whole marriage that I have really nothing to do with. So that was kind of the start of my recognizing that I had allowed others to tell me, to dictate to me all my life how I was supposed to be, what I should think, um, who I was supposed to be, how I was supposed to act. And there now needed to be an end to that, a completion to that. I think I spoke to my sister one more time because I did end up sending my nephew a wedding gift. And she was really surprised. She goes, "Oh, I didn't expect you, to even send him anything because, I guess she's saying, well, I didn't have you come. You weren't invited. So I didn't expect you to send a gift." And, small-minded thinking. But soon after that, like I said, we were kind of talking, um, not often, but often. And I had kind of stopped talking to her after that. I didn't want to have anything else to do with her because you're saying that I'm no good. And a big part of the ascension process, your self actualization, is understanding your self worth. Start these videos are really getting to me because this is the first time I'm like really outwardly talking about a lot of these subjects, and hopefully it's inspiring you to act in some way. Okay. Um, to be your own person, to do your own research, to understand what this universe and what the divine truly is, and that it's not made up of man-made statements, acts, institutions. Right? I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go into the next video, and I'll see you in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to spend time with me, if you like a reading, there's a link below to book time. Also, I've done several courses on the ascension process, and that link is also below. So I'll see you next time.